So May 2016, Trump gets the nod. May 2016, Papadopoulos meets with Downer in a London bar. At around this time, CNN's reporting that the British are spying on the Trump team, in fact, or spying on their conversations, quote, with Russians. They meet in a London bar. Downer contacts American intel officials. Downer's a friend of Clinton's. A major counterintelligence investigation is therefore opened up against Donald Trump. Right around the same time, Mike Rogers, the NSA, grows very suspicious about the use of the NSA to, in fact, spy on Americans. Make sense, Joseph?
Yeah, man. I'm liking this so far. Yeah.
May of 2016, again, the Inspector General from the Department of Justice confirms it's now looking into Andrew McCabe. Andrew McCabe, whose wife's running for office as a Democrat, being sponsored by Terry McAuliffe, the governor of Virginia, who the FBI was looking into after McAuliffe met with McCabe. Nellie Orr is then hired May of 2016 by Fusion. Remember the information superhighway I spoke about often. The information superhighway is how is all of this information, all these people intersecting with the Trump orbit who already have a pre-existing relationship with either the FBI or the Clinton team? How is it that they keep meeting the Trump team? Who is telling them to do this? Is this just on their own volition? Or are they such Clinton acolytes? Or are they friends with law enforcement that they're told and they just know to go and intersect with the Trump team to gather information? I don't know. Nellie Orr is put on the Fusion payroll. Who's Nellie Orr? They need an information superhighway. They need information to make it into the U.S. court system to go after the Trump team, to put a legal face on this investigation that right now is just based on conjecture and nonsense, golden shower stories that aren't true. What do? Fusion GPS, who's now working. Remember, Fusion GPS is hired by the Clinton team. They also took money from Obama's former campaign arm. From that law firm, Perkins Coie. Fusion GPS then hires Nellie Orr, whose wife, Bruce Orr, is an associate deputy attorney general in the Justice Department. They hire her at the same time. Interestingly enough, she goes and gets a ham radio license at the same time as well. Nellie Orr is now on the Fusion payroll. A direct connection through her husband into the Department of Justice. June of 2016, Steele's brought on by Fusion. Fascinating. June 3rd of 2016. Remember, just a month earlier, Trump gets a GOP nod. Just a month earlier, Papadopoulos and Downer meet in this London bar, okay? June 3rd, Rob Goldstone, a publicist, emails Trump Jr. and says, hey, I got some information from this guy, Emin Agalarov. He's like a singer-entertainer type. And he says that he was approached by someone who has information about Hillary's illicit dealings with the Russians. Fascinating. You know what happens? You know who shows up? Veselnitskaya. That's the source that they're citing, Goldstone, in the June 3rd email. Who's Natalia Veselnitskaya? She's also working with Fusion GPS on a separate case. Crazy. I mean, folks, the coincidences here, I'm being sarcastic, obviously, are nuts. I'm trying to inject a bit of humor in this because it is the biggest spy scandal in American history against an American citizen. Goldstone emails Trump Jr., hey, we need to set up this meeting with this Russian lawyer. She's connected to the Kremlin, and they have information about Hillary's negative dealings with the Russians, whatever it may be. The person who shows up is working for Fusion GPS. Another person magically connected by proxy to the Clinton team that shows up to deal with the Trump team. Who's putting them up to this? June 9th is the Trump Tower meet. To be clear, no information exchanges hands. Again, I thought Jonathan Turley made a great point on Fox News last night about this meeting. Was the meeting a bad idea? Yeah. But was the meeting evidence of collusion? Turley's like, Joe, if you were going to collude with the Russians, do you do it in Trump Tower where the media is basically camped downstairs the entire time? Yeah. And by the way, the information supposed to have been exchanged was information about Hillary's dealing with the Russians, not the Trump team. Right. Now, to be clear, no information exchanges hands. Trump Jr. later releases the entire email chain in what I think is an act of unprecedented transparency, especially given the fact that Hillary's emails we still don't have. June 9th, 2016. Oh, sorry, Trump. That's the Trump Tower meet. Gotta just take a note. The next day, Joe. Whoa, interesting. This is a little tidbit here. June 9th is the meeting. June 10th, The DNC in an internal meeting starts to blame Russia for the hack of their computer. The hack in quotes, folks, for the hack into their systems. But they don't let the FBI in. So the DNC starts filtering around its own folks. The day after that Trump Tower meeting with a Russian lawyer working for Fusion GPS who's working for Hillary, the next day they start to blame the Russians. You see the narrative? You see the narrative building? You see how this is working? June 15th. 2016, Guccifer 2.0 publishes Podesta documents, Podesta-related material. June 17th, listen for the narrative again. Remember, Chalupa, the DNC, Hillary, and their relationship with Isikoff and other people in the press. It's clear that whether the press is knowingly or unknowingly involved, they are a mainstay here in the effort to get a narrative out there that the Russians hacked the DNC, despite the fact that they have no evidence, because they know later on they're going to frame Trump for it. Make no mistake. June 17th, Joe. Remember, it's June 10th where the DNC says in this meeting, hey, we're going to blame the Russians for this. June 17th, Washington Post front page story titled, Inside Trump's Financial Ties to Russia and His Unusual Flattery of Vladimir Putin. Hey, nice job, Washington Post. You guys did a great job carrying water for the Dems there. Crazy how that happened. That story appears right after that. These guys are unbelievable. Now, does the Washington Post know something's coming up? Because on June 22nd, 2016, WikiLeaks releases Clinton and the DNC emails. But don't you worry, folks. The narrative has already been preset that the Russians hacked the DNC, despite no hard evidence of that happening and the FBI never being allowed to actually look at the DNC servers for evidence of the hack. They've already set the narrative. These suckers in the press play right along because later on, this is all going to be pinned on Trump. Awfully convenient that all those meetings happened beforehand, right? Milian meeting with Papadopoulos. Sergei Milian becomes a source for golden showers. Agalarov talks to Rob Goldstone, who knows Trump, who emails Trump about, a Russian lawyer coming to meet them with dirt on Hillary. Crazy how that happens. A Russian lawyer is working for Fusion GPS, who's working for Hillary. Downer's already met in a bar. Downer, a known friend of the Clintons, in a bar in London where the GCHQ, as reported by CNN, is already spying on the Trump team. He meets with Papadopoulos, too, who's working for the Trump team. The narrative's all there. All the pieces are coming together just in case Trump wins. All right. Thank you, Joseph.
Yes.
Joe's giving me the sign there because he knows I get upset when I lose people. June 2016, DC Leaks starts releasing the DNC emails. Conveniently, right around the same time, as again, hat tip Cheryl Atkinson, the National Anti-Corruption Bureau it's not the Ukraine. Everybody does that. The National Anti-Corruption Bureau, Joe, in Ukraine, releases a ledger on Paul Manafort and his supposedly illicit payments. Interesting how Ukraine is now working with Chalupa and them as well. June 30th, 2016. Remember the email investigations going on into Hillary at this time. It's being led by Andy McCabe, whose wife is running as a Democrat, supported by groups that support Hillary and the governor of Virginia, who's already met with McCabe. But June 13th of 2016, the wording starts to get changed on what's going to be a July 5th Comey press conference on the Hillary investigation. There are some critical changes on Comey's speech that are made here. They change grossly negligent to extremely careless in the speech while talking about Hillary's involvement in the email scandal. So we're crystal clear. Why is that important? Because grossly negligent is the actual legal language used in the statute to prosecute cases like this. Classified information leaks. That wording is changed to extremely careless. Critical. They change it from legal language, Joe, to just common everyday language, right, to make absolutely sure that the exoneration later will look better. But here's the most important takeaway from this that commonly gets left out. Atkinson doesn't miss it, but some other reporters do. They also change the wording in the piece to, she emailed the President of the United States from Russia, Hillary, on her private email. What a rope-a-dope. I believe that may have been done on purpose to rope President Obama into this scandal so they can't prosecute her later. Look, Obama did it too, right? She emailed the President of the United States to a senior government official. They then wipe out any reference to senior government official at all. Folks, whoever was reading Comey's speech that they're preparing for July 5th and days later about Hillary Clinton and what Comey is going to claim as an exoneration, even though he has no authority to do so as an investigator, not a prosecutor, they eliminate any reference to the email to Obama. I'm telling you, the email to Obama and the emails are the next shoe to drop. Once those emails are exposed, the house of cards comes down because Obama clearly would have known he was emailing Hillary on an unsecure system, and the content of those emails, God forbid they mentioned Perkins Coie, the law firm taking money from OFA, Organizing for America, formerly Obama for America, which hired this firm to dig up dirt on Trump while the press and the DNC is working together to put this false narrative out there about the Russians hacking into the DNC. False because they didn't know. We may find out later it's in fact true. Nobody knows that now. The FBI has not looked at that. But that's why I believe they get POTUS out of there, the President of the United States, the reference out of there, and any reference to a senior government official. Okay. July 2016, Carter Page takes a trip to Russia. Wow. Interesting. Carter Page, who had previously worked with the FBI in the prosecution of Buryakov, working with the Russians. So Page had worked with the FBI. He then takes his trip to Russia. Now, the trip is publicly disclosed. I don't know Carter Page. Again, I'm not defending this guy's speeches in Russia. Some of the stuff he said was, I think, pretty reprehensible. But it's interesting that Page takes a trip to Russia right around the time that the Minister of Foreign Affairs for the Ukraine starts attacking Trump on social media posts, and Susan Rice starts generating a nearly unprecedented amount of unmasking requests to unmask people who are being monitored by U.S. intel agencies. Weird. July 2nd. Peter Strzok starts getting involved with the Clinton investigation. Peter Strzok, of course, who starts texting his love interest and obviously can't stand Donald Trump. He's a senior FBI manager. Interesting, by the way, that happens right around the time, just 3 days before the July 5th Jim Comey speech. July 5th, 2016, Jim Comey gives a speech. He gives a public speech. Everybody saw it. Joe and I saw it. Jim Comey's public speech, he basically exonerates Hillary Clinton. I already told you about how the speech was changed multiple times to eliminate a reference to Obama and eliminate legal language. Right around July 5th, 2016, Christopher Steele, who's now working for Fusion GPS to gather dirt on Trump from Russians, meets with the FBI. Wow, just days later, Peter Strzok opens up a Trump counterintelligence investigation as Chalupa leaves the DNC, Joe, to work full-time on Russia stuff against Trump. July 31st, 2016. A formal counterintelligence investigation into Donald Trump is opened, and the framing and the setup of Donald Trump is now full bore. August 14th, 15th, the New York Times and CNN start doing reports on Manafort. Manafort's strange connections to Ukraine. On August 15th, right after these New York Times reports on Manafort, which they've been working on, by the way, through Chalupa the entire time, way before Manafort joins the Trump team. That is interesting, to say the least. Andy McCabe meets with Peter Strzok in the office, and this is important. This is on August 15th. They talk about an insurance policy in case Trump is elected. Of course, Strzok is virulently anti-Trump. He's having an affair with Lisa Page, a DOJ attorney who hates Trump as well. Andy McCabe, of course, is already, as we know, under investigation for his suspicious ties to Terry McAuliffe, a Democrat, and by default, the Clinton campaign. They meet in his office a day after that report on Manafort. They start talking about an insurance policy in case Trump is elected. Don't forget that term. It's going to come up in a few minutes.
Okay.
August 19th, Paul Manafort resigns from the Trump campaign. Not coincidental. August of 2016, again, a wiretap on Manafort goes forward, which is interesting because I'm going to read to you from CNN Politics. This is a CNN piece, by the way, folks. The conversations between Manafort and Trump continued after President Trump took office, long after the FBI investigation into Manafort was publicly known. The sources told CNN.